best friend of you, the little guy investor, our man on the committee, Senator Ted Kaufman's leaving the Senate. I think it's a tragedy. Kaufman has fought to rein in bear rating short sellers, trying to bring back the uptick rule. He's worked to make the market more transparent and accountable, a safer place for regular people to invest. And unlike many of us, including myself, Senator Kaufman actually predicted the flash crash because he recognized the dangers posed by excessive high-frequency trading and financial innovation that have been taken to ridiculous extremes. Since then, he's tried to solve the problem, not with Band-Aids like circuit breakers, something that came out of the SEC's big flash crash report at the end of September, but he's tried to do it real structural reform. Plus, he's pointed out aberrant action in other stocks like Diebold, something that's continued after the flash crash, even doesn't get much attention in the press. The United States should have the best, most trusted, most reliable financial system on earth. But our markets still face enormous structural problems, something we can't afford to forget, even as I think stocks could go higher. I wish Ted Kaufman was staying in the Senate, but he's already done a lot to help fix our markets, more than anyone else in Washington. I want to hear his thoughts about what we need to do going forward to make sure the system is sound and safe for regular people. Senator Kaufman, it's a shame to see you go. I wish you were sticking around the Senate. You're the best friend we ever had.
Thanks,
Thank you so much for coming on Mad Money.
Thank you.
All right, where are we? Because I know that a lot of your work is not done, but you've pointed out so many things that the SEC seems to have gone in your direction in the end.
Yeah. No, I think so. And the big problem is time. I think, like last August, I talked about the market structure reform, as you know. And we're just getting around to it. And we wouldn't have got to it now if it hadn't been for the flash crash, I'm convinced.
Right.
So, and then the flash crash, 3 months to prepare a report, which I'm not blaming the SEC for taking 3 months to prepare it. But the fact that we have to spend 3 months gathering the data, I mean, we should be checking data every day. We should be able to data. It goes back to the analogy to the black box on an airplane. Right. We need a black box on the market. We need something so that we know what the computers are doing. We know when what's being sold, who it's being sold to, when it's being sold. Things that we always used to know when we had the tape and we had floor. We had the floor action as opposed to the computers.
Well, you're so right. I mean, one of the things about the report is it was mostly about trying to get the data.
Yeah.
I mean, there's whole chapters of this that are like, well, we think this happened.
Right.
There's so little surety here that I think one of your central tenets, it's not safe yet.
Yeah.
Right?
No, my basic rule is, and it's the same thing, think about derivatives, think about high-frequency trading. Both of them, there was a lot of money involved. Right. Both of them was a lot of money. There was a lot of change. Derivatives went from nowhere, and computers went from 30% of the market being high-speed computers to 70%. Right. There was no transparency. No one knew. I mean, this is like in derivatives, nobody knew what was going on. Remember, everybody talked about first thing we got to do when we passed the new Dodd-Frank bill was make sure we had transparency on derivatives, so we knew what's going on. No transparency in high-frequency trading. If you have no transparency, you can have no regulation. And so when those situations happen, bad things happen.
Well, what do you think is going to happen to the plain average investor who seems to have left?
Well, it's
a secular trend.
Jim, you know why I started on this. I didn't start on this because of high-frequency trading. I didn't even start on this because of short selling. I started because I said the two things that made this country great were democracy and our capital markets. And if we lose democracy or we lose our capital markets, we've really lost. A lot of people on the Senate floor, they talk about our grandchildren. They usually do it in terms of fiscal responsibility, and they're right about that. But do I want to leave my grandchildren where America capital markets are not the best in the world? And the way it's going, Hong Kong, Singapore, Frankfurt, London, we have the dot-com crash. Then we have the financial meltdown. I mean, we can't afford very many more of these things before people are going to say, I'm just going to go somewhere else. And already we're losing investors. And then we have this whole thing with the high-speed computers, as you know, and you are much more articulate than me talking about that. And that is, with these high-speed computers, there's nobody doing IPOs anymore. So right now, that Weil report, where they talked about the fact, Ram Thurman, where they talked about the fact that the money you need now to do an IPO is so high, and they listed it on one page. I'll never forget it. 14 companies that did IPOs that today couldn't do those IPOs, and they included Associates and Dell and all the really important ones. So we've got to get our hands on this thing. And the problem we have, and this is really, and I did this the last time I was on the show, is just I wish everybody on Wall Street would get on the program and try to help us do this. This is not about being anti-Wall Street. This is about if we don't save our capital markets, we're going to kill the goose that laid the golden egg. And we need folks to come forward. But what happens now is every time the Securities Exchange Commission has a panel, It's 90% of the panel are people that are on one side. Exactly right. And I fought with them, and we got the short one. Remember the short one? There's like one person on our side, and everybody on the other side. And then the high frequency trading, I complained, and they changed it, so we got some people on the other side.
Where are the custodians for the people, the big mutual funds? Why don't they speak up, the brokers? It's really in their interest in the long term.
Right. But you know what? I say when I go to New York now, I should carry those no snitch T-shirts. You know, the ones they have in the ghetto about don't snitch, because that's really what's. You talk to these guys. I talked to one of the top #2 guys in one of our biggest financial institutions, and he was in to see me about 6 months or 8 months ago, and we were talking about something else. In the end, he said, "Ted, I really want to thank you for what you're doing on short selling." I said, "God, come on,
speak up."
Speak up. He said, "Look," he said, "two things. Number one, I look weak, and number two, they'll come after me."
Well,
and until you know, really, because as long as Wall Street keeps fighting this thing, then the only way it's ever going to be solved is if we have another flash crash that gets worse. And you and I know this is one of those things. This is not. I used to say the great thing about being an engineer as opposed to economist and doing the economic stuff, because the economic stuff you can build all these things and you don't ever know where it's going to fall. You build a rocket and it doesn't work right, it falls over. Yeah. And that's what's going to happen with the stock market. I mean, if we don't do this, is not something you and I can argue about and go off and, you know, we can argue, and if we win the argument, it doesn't change. You know, and you're the best on the fact that this something bad's going to happen if we don't do this.
Senator Kaufman, you've been a delight. Please stay in touch. You've done remarkable things for the American people. Remarkable. Thank you so much, sir.
Thank you, Jim. Thanks for what you do.
Mad Money's back after the break. Done a great job.